Well, hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm Kate Bates, joined by Anna Russell, and we are here for week 5 of this year's season 2, 2020. Wow, 21, 22.
22.
I'm already a full year behind of WTRL Zwift Racing League. And Anna, I hope you've got your whiteboard ready. We can discuss whiteboards a little bit later in more detail. But we're headed to the mountains this time.
I
So it is
know.
our first course where there are some KOMs and not some sprints. And after last week's team's time trial, I think this might be a bit of a hairy one.
I'm excited for this one. I gotta say, I've sort of the sprints are fun. Like it's been an all right time, but I love the mountains. I watched this in Premier Division earlier this morning, our time in New Zealand here, and it was epic. So I'm pretty excited to see how this one's going to unfold, especially because I'm also racing it tomorrow, and I'm very excited to get on these climbs. Just looking at as well the Zwift Insider graphic, which I am really loving. Head over to Zwift Insider if you want to see some great info on all these courses. It really is weighted towards the fastest time segment in this course today. Also the finish line. So the first across line, kind of important, but yeah, that fastest time segment seems to be where it's at.
Yeah, well, I like how you say, like, the sprints have been fun, but I think it would probably be an even split of people who both agree with you and who are now not looking forward to the second half of this season happening. But we've got 32.5 kilometres. There's 320 odd metres of climbing, which actually is less, ironically, than what we saw in New York a couple of weeks ago.
Oh,
But
yes.
it's just the way that it's spread out that makes it so difficult, those pretty punchy climbs. So we'll jump down when we have pictures. We are a little bit later starting today, entirely my problem with a few tech issues. Hot tip, don't update your Mac
Oh.
before something important, guys. Just putting it out there.
We do
Anna, we've got...
actually, yeah, we do have the women out there on course there. We'll head over to them now. They're about 1.8 kilometers in. Their first climb, I've actually got it written down here for my race tomorrow, and huge, like it's on my kids' like drawing paper on massive markers. So it's huge. I'll take a photo of it. I wrote down rooftop KOM is at 3.3 kilometers. So that is coming up very, very soon for these guys, a K and a half away ish. And then we've also got the men's race, obviously, that we'll be looking at as we go through. They'll probably overtake these C women soon enough, but we've got C women and the A men. I know there's been a few questions on who we're covering, but that's who we're looking at tonight.
So last week there were a few kind of wild cards that stood up and got noticed. Anna, and unfortunately you missed it. Your
Oh
family was a bit
no.
unwell. I hope everything has settled there.
Oh yeah.
But we really noticed some, a bit of a swap around and change in the level of a couple of teams who maybe hadn't been the absolute front runners to date, but had a really strong performance last week. And we couldn't help but comment, both in APAC and also America West with Dave Toll, that it really felt like, how am I going with my grammar tonight? I'm doing really well.
Feel like,
It
yeah.
it felt like a really transitional week where we'd
Mm,
had a lot for the sprinters, and then all of a sudden there were some teams who were kind of kicking it into gear and ready for this second half of the season. And I almost feel like, of course, we'll see the familiar names that have put their hands up early in the season with some great performances. But I feel like we may also get a few new players coming into the fore, which is a bit exciting.
yeah, I mean, knowing from my experience with this season, I was really looking forward to the last half, and I think you're right. I think those riders who are a bit meh about sprinting are now like frothing to get into this one, and they're about 300 meters away. These C women to get there. We've got. I don't know if you saw on Facebook, Katie. We got sent a lot of info today about the AHDR ladies team, so I'll try and call a few of those out when I see them. Corinne there, who we can just see sort of peeking her nose out at the front. She started Zwifting quite a little while ago, wanted to race in cross country and marathon mountain bike races. But as a mum and she was studying at uni, it was just a little bit tricky. So got a second-hand trainer and got onto Zwift. So that's a little bit of a story about Corinne. You can just see up ahead that red banner, which means they are hitting this QOM. I'm interested to see if anyone's going to go out early because you can draft a lot of this course actually. And I'm also intrigued as to what bike choices people may have chosen for this one. I'm going to go the Scott Addict. I don't see too many of them out there. A few Trons, a few Canyon era roads, but there we see a Scott right there. That kind of nice purple frame with the yellow writing on it. Looks pretty good there. She's got a good setup, whoever that is.
I always like the bike talk. Tell us why they're about to head on to the rooftop KOM, which is that first one. Then they next up is the castle and the temple reverse today. So those 3 climbs, I would say the rooftop is probably just the shortest and a little bit of a heart starter, we would call it in track racing, just a little bit of a lead in to the other climbs. But tell me about the bike choice, Anna, and why you've gone for that Scott over some
Oh,
of,
I could
the more
tell.
versatile ones like the Tron or something that a lot of people have chosen tonight.
I know. I know you'd be have been thinking about this all week, like I have, Katie, as we do see Corinne, who we're just talking about, actually off the front. So great to see her absolutely drilling it. So she's gone the Canyon Aero Road. I mean, it's not a terrible choice. It is slightly a better climber than the Specialized Venge S Works. I think about on par with the Tron bike, so it's not phenomenal compared to Tron. But the Scott Addict, which I'll try and get a close up soon when I see someone. I mean, we're talking seconds. It's perhaps a second to 2 seconds faster than the Tron up climbs. And as Nathan always says, and I agree with, it is all about picking the bike for the moments of the course you'll be attacking. And look at Corinne here. It's not for when you're going to be flat on the draft. So sometimes a quicker bike on a course may actually not be the best choice. It might be better to choose it for the particular areas you're going to attack. So she's chosen to attack on this climb. Already got 9 seconds across Anna just behind and Sammy from the Caramellos. You can't even see them behind her. And if you look at that mini map in the top right, this group has absolutely shredded going up this climb. So Corinne has done her job well for the Caramellos. She has put the pressure on.
She, as a mountain biker, this is perfectly suited to her. And you often think about the people who've come from mountain bikes to have a very successful road career. But I actually think as esports gets bigger and bigger, and we're looking at having it as an Olympic event, it's already, of course, a world championship event, that we're going to see more and more that you associate mountain bikers with very good esport riders because their power profile, Anna, it's really dynamic. Good mountain bikers are very good at climbing in the seat, which is something that I know a lot of the roadies who are very good at, they're out of the seat climbers. That's a bit harder to transition onto the trainer to produce the same power out of the seat when you're on a trainer. So it is a bit more suited directly to the way that mountain bikers tend to produce their power, and also short bursts of power that make them quite explosive mid-climb to do a fair bit of damage. So whether Corinne is going for gold for the overall win here solo, or whether she's just trying to, as we discussed, rip the field apart, she's done a sensational job, hasn't she? She'll go over this first climb now, the rooftop climb.
Yeah, just want to talk a little bit to the picture here. We've got Marsh here from Team Aero doing the same here as what Corinne's done, gone off the front. Now it's got just 2 seconds though, versus Corinne's got about 11 now, so she's absolutely smashing it. But Marsh here, he just want to note as we watch Corinne go over the top, he's going to get caught by the bunch. You can just see them catching there from behind. But wow, he went off hard and early. He was on that Scott that I was talking about earlier, but has been flooded by these riders just near the top. And these 2 groups are almost at the same part of the course. As we saw Corinne go over there first, obviously mopping up all of the first across line points. Not sure about what we'll see with the fastest time segment, because there could be someone who came pretty quickly through the pack. Like I said, it's a very, very draftable climb. So the fastest time segment is probably someone who's going to be sitting right kind of near the back and have come through the field. But we'll get those stats to you as quick as possible. We might just shoot over to the men and see how they're looking at this top of this climb to see who might end up taking it out. We've got Filshy here, one of the ZWC riders as well. They're always good at climbing, those ZWC riders. And there are orange numbers galore here. Tanaka, do you remember him, Katie?
Yes, I love Tanaka. He's a really dynamic rider. He's got a bit of a sprint on him too. So it's great to see him using that power. And is he wearing an aero helmet, Anna? I
He
think he
is.
is.
They all do those ZWC guys. It must be a little good luck charm. Look at this
I
coming across
like
the
it.
top though. Absolutely phenomenal here from Talbot. It's almost finishing like a sprint. Endo here as well. Looks like Endo is going to take it off. Talbot in second and Richard Law from Alien Inc.
Mm.
in third. So that was pretty great work from those guys. It's an interesting climb because it really, I mean, you call it a climb, but like you said, that took 2 minutes 35 and it finished in a sprint. So yeah, it's not
Yeah.
your typical climb, but they are now heading. They've got a long period of flat, and then they'll be heading into two climbs back to back, which I would say are a little bit more for those climbing legs.
And I saw a few burritos being dropped there. I'm just disappointed that when you get the burrito, you can't throw it at a rider.
I know.
Like, for anybody out there who doesn't know what throw burrito is as a board game, you got to look that one up. It's a lot of family fun, let me tell you. You literally get to pitch a plastic burrito at someone's head. But
Awesome.
I think that could be interesting in-game way to use it. Now, to return to what we're here for, the actual cycling, Anna, I'm really interested in Talbot and Law. You make a very good point that it's only a 2.5 minute climb. So you're not typically going to see sprinters jettisoned, in such a short climb. That said, it is a huge pack where at the top of the climb, it had broken into quite distinct groups, and
Mm-hmm.
the sprinters were right at the front of it there.
Yeah.
Just the pure power. So Talbot, we've been talking about him for the last couple of weeks. He hasn't quite been there at the finish as we expected him to, but maybe this is kind of suits him a little bit better, the slightly longer ones. Oh, look at that. Brad Pitt for the
I
win,
know, go Brad
Anna,
Pitt.
on
And look
top
at
of the
that. What I do
board.
want to pull up is he had a fastest time segment 20 points. So he is well on
Mm.
the top. He was only, maybe that looks like about sixth across the line, but because he came through so quick, he is mopped up and won the first points battle. But our mate Law, he's doing pretty good there too. He's sitting on 23 points, and a bit further back we had Endo, who was first across line there. But as I noted earlier with the Zwift Insider pie graph, I love my graphs, is we've really, you should be focusing on fastest time segment. That is where you're going to get a lot of points. And looks like that crew is doing that quite well. Looks like Alien Inc. got second there and fifth with Talbot. So great job.
But yeah, they're really emerging as the very consistent team, especially in these points racing. Interesting, Anna, to see Bleakley there in fourth. Tabalong and Knutz are also in that top 10. Now, they were unbelievably good last week. You missed it. We talked a lot about how you would be, I can't remember the funny term Nathan used, but I guess like frothing, I guess would be the appropriate matching term. Very excited. We thought
Yes.
that you would be very, very excited by their performance. John's story in particular
Oh, love John's
was
story.
an absolute standout. And they were one of the teams that we have seen developing, but they haven't quite managed to get it right in some of those points races. But it's very clear now, and now they kind of can't hide the fact that they've got the horsepower and they've got the legs. In some ways, I think that will allow them more opportunity for people to give them a bit more kudos in terms of riding with them or wanting to get in breaks.
Hmm.
But it could also be counter to that, where now they don't really let them go anywhere because they're like, ah, ha, ha, we know what you can do, certainly in the time trial ranks. But a really good show from the Kiwis,
I love
stepping up
it.
a notch last week.
Oh, just, I love my Kiwis. And I do, is now the time we talk about the fact that you and I are going to have a little bit of a battle on our hands with the world champs coming up.
Oh, look, Anna, I think I'm still processing the news. No, it is good. I was actually just going to message you on Discord and ask if I'm allowed to talk about it from your end, if that's been formalised. But yes, I will be the director for the Australian women at the upcoming Zwift Esport World Championships. And Anna, you will be doing the same for the Kiwi
I
mob. So
know.
I guess we're only friends for another, 30 odd kilometres tonight.
I know, and then
Uh,
it's all on. I love
then
it.
it's
I
got a
love that
game
we're
on.
both going to be watching this racing unfolding live. That was my biggest draw
Mm,
card as the DS, was that you get to watch a world champs literally sort of like you've said to me, from the driver's seat. It's a
yeah.
pretty cool opportunity. I don't know if you've ridden that course. I went and rode it in the weekend just as part of the what's it called, Tour de Zwift. Wowzers, that yeah, it's not super gutted that I am not racing that. It was a really hard course, so it would be fun to just be sitting in a chair for that one, I've got to say.
It will be, and I'm very, very excited. I think it's some really exciting racing coming up, and the fact that we can have a front seat to be involved, it's a bit of an honour actually. We'll have to get our. I was about to say we'll have to get our green and gold on. I'll get the green and gold on. You
Yeah,
can get your
I'll get my silver fern
your
on.
silver fern,
There we
if you
go.
like. I'm seeing some funny little comments uh, coming in from the riders. There's clearly a couple of groups that are unfolding now, and they're all getting a bit chatty if they're not in this front group, which is always entertaining. But what we can definitely see in this front group is those main players. And a lot of them we have seen in the earlier weeks because of their sprint prowess. The big opportunity definitely comes on the Temple climb for
Mm.
anybody who is climb inclined, for those climbers to jettison, or at the very least, fatigue the sprinters and maybe take a little bit of punch out of their legs. So the sprinters will have to have a well-formed strategy going up that climb to be patient, and if they do in fact suffer and drop off the back a little bit, to just be patient in chasing back on, because there is a decent amount of downhill and flat afterwards, Anna. It's nearly 10k to the finish from the top of that climb.
Yeah, and even from now, I mean, the first rooftop KOM was at 3.3K. Now we've got Castle coming up at 15K, so they've still got 5K of relatively flat road. So that's probably why they're having a little bit of a chat amongst themselves. You can just see the pace is completely off. They're way in front of the riders who have been dropped. So for those who are racing in the coming days, you've got to almost treat the finish line as the top of that first KOM, because then, as you can see here, I mean, they're rolling around at 3 watts a kg, which for these guys is just a Sunday stroll. So yeah, it's, you got to know when to punch. It's interesting talking to people about Zwift racing, you know, and they say, oh man, it's so hard. Parts of it are hard, like parts of it are extremely hard that you feel like your heart's going to explode. But then parts like this, once you've made the selection, it's pretty chill. You know, like there's a bit of chat going. 2.7, 2.5 watts a kg. We'll go over and
Mm.
see what the women are up to, but I pretty much looks like they're just doing the same sort of thing here. Just they're going through, they've just emerged, one of my favorite parts, just emerged into the Makuri Islands part of the course. Just so beautiful. Like, I love this course because you hit this sort of neon and you feel pretty fast paced. And if you're listening to some, you know, pumped up music, got some lights going in your room, feels great. And then you come out here and it's very zen and very chill.
It is actually, isn't it? I just thought that it looks like a lovely place to ride one's bike. Noting that they do head onto this little gravel section now. I'm not sure if you've kept up with the whinging going on from the Pro Tour, Anna, but they're complaining
About the
that there's
gravel.
too many gravel sections being used in
No.
road races.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
where do you sit on that fence?
I think it's exciting and entertaining. The bikes are built for it, as long as it isn't, you know, if it's road that can be ridden on a normal road bike, then I have no problem with it. I don't think it's comparable to mountain biking, like some of them seem to suggest. And I think throwing some gravel sections in Zwift racing, it's kind of no different to having cobbled sections. You have to ride it differently, watch your positioning, and produce slightly different power. So I think it's quite interesting. The men have just popped off that gravel section as well.
It's been an
And
attack.
their bro, Anna,
Yep.
they're having a bit of a go here. This doesn't surprise me based on, I reckon last week they would have gotten a fair bit of confidence too from how well they performed. And now they know that if they keep attacking one over the top of the other, they actually can do some real damage. Bit of a different story for the women. Corinne is now back in that bunch after that wonderful climb effort she did. She got out to about 15 seconds. But the bunch is much smaller for the women at this point in the race. So they are playing out a bit differently simply for that fact that the women don't have nearly as many places to hide in that main bunch.
Yeah, this is quite an interesting attack because the group will catch him. Absolutely, but it really strung the group out. So if the objective there was to put the herd on, I think that's what the NZ Bro Gandalf team have done. Just as a side note, NZ Bro, they name all of their teams after Lord of the Rings characters. So this is obviously Gandalf the Wizard. I don't know how familiar you are with Lord of the Rings, as we have an attack over the top from this aero rider with the beard and the aero helmet, which is a little bit of an oxymoron. If you're going to have a beard to slow you down, the aero helmet's not going to do much. But anyway, each to their own.
Hold on, can we just unpack that a bit? Because is in game, is there actually a disadvantage to having a beard, an aero disadvantage, or does it not matter?
I don't think it matters, but in my mind, it's like when you
In your
ride and
mind.
you have no socks. It's you feel like you're going a bit slower and you look a bit geeky.
Well, now on that, I want to bring that up, Anna, because I was reading the technical guide for the World Championships, and I noticed something that I thought would please you tremendously, that the riders have to wear their national team kit, blah, 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 but then they have to wear socks. Their avatars have to wear socks.
I know.
Any socks, but they just have to have socks on.
I know. It's so bad on the eyes and so hurtful that you have
to
to
not
wear them
have
in game.
socks.
Yeah, it's just how distracting would that be? You wouldn't even be watching who won. You'd just be looking at
Don't
all the
you
riders there who don't have socks on.
don't you think that's entirely bizarre that in an esport there's a rule about wearing socks? I think that I'm like, that is peak UCI madness.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, maybe they'll
Notwithstanding your
measure them in
discomfort.
game as well, right?
Yeah, well, look, and it's a shame because I was, before I heard that rule, I was thinking I'd get all the Aussie girls to wear no socks just to put you off.
Yeah, well, that would put me off. So I'm glad that you
Yeah.
didn't do that. That would very much put me off. I do have a question coming through from Andrew Coates, who's watching YouTube. How does attacking one after the other in a team work for them? So I think there was maybe a little critique on what NZ Bro were doing there, kind of attacking 1, 2, 3 off the front. It may not work for them, but if they're not going too much into their red zone, you can see here we're looking at the heart rate of that earlier attacker from NZ Bro, K Dot here. Really low heart rate now, so it probably just didn't hurt him as much as it maybe hurt some of the ones who were dangling off the back. So yeah, I guess that's maybe why they do it. The men now are very quickly, about 500 meters away from starting this climb. The C category women are now just 200 meters behind them on the road, so we'll cut over to them when they are up near the end of their climb. This part of the course is very, very hard, in my opinion, because this climb starts off pretty tame, to be honest, but then it goes into some real ratchets up and down, sort of up to the 10%, then down again. And then you cross the top, and I always feel like it should be then downhill, but it kind of flattens and then goes uphill again, even though you've done the KOM, and then a bit of down, and then you're hitting the really big temple KOM. So this part is a real burn on the legs. That's probably why they've been going so slowly, as they know what's in store.
Yeah, that you're spot on. There is no real descent after they go up the castle climb. It just kind of peters out at the top. A tiny reprieve, but nothing that will really allow riders who are in trouble over the climb to recover enough to get back on if the bunch continues riding at any decent pace. It's actually starting to break up more than I had expected at this point, because the length of the bunch, even without it being pushed too hard, it was starting to split. But now that the ratchet has been turned a bit, interesting to see the ink battlers pushing it from the front. Now, what do we take from that? Do we take that perhaps their sprinters who pulled some of those points earlier have perhaps said, that's our job done, now you guys push on for the rest of the climbs? Because it indicates to me that they've got a bit of a dual strategy out here tonight, which would be very smart, by the way, to use the sprinters for that first climb and then transition.
I'd say so. I mean, I'd almost be saying they're going for the fastest time segment here, because they're in the climb proper now. It started off a bit flat, but they're in the climb proper. They might just be going for the fastest possible that they can get up here, but they're kind of slowed down a bit, and that strategy may not work, because someone who's sitting in that bunch, unfortunately someone's dropped off the bag, but if you're sitting in that bunch, you can go a lot faster with that bunch speed and then just do a full noise attack, with about 300 meters to go. So I'm not sure on this strategy, what this Alien Ink crew is doing. They're going to get flooded here by the bunch, and if they're not careful, they could get left behind. This is always a really dangerous part, I think. Look at all those magenta jerseys of Evo. Always looking good they are, I've got to say. But there was a little pinch. And they're coming up to this twisty turny, but you can just see those elevations kind of just going up, down, up, down, up, down. It's really hard to get a rhythm on this part of the course.
Aero, if we look back to last season where Mark O'Brien just attacked constantly over the top of everything, I think we've got a bit of a theme for how Aero are quite comfortable riding. There's a lot of them just sitting in the group, minding their own business and holding a good wheel. I think they're probably a big threat when it comes to some attacks over the top here. It would be a really good time to attack over the top of the castle climb, and it would, because it would allow any of the climbers to settle into a really good rhythm going up Temple Climb and be able to climb at their own pace while the rest of the bunch was kind of in pieces behind trying to get organised and get back together. And if we do look at that little map on the top right, it's certainly started breaking up already, and they are far from the hardest part. It's the next kind of 6 kilometres that are pretty challenging. They're going at a decent pace at over 40k an hour now, but they will start to slow as this gets a bit steeper.
We've got Tab along here. He's an NZ Bro rider, I do think. So John Story was setting up so well. Look at that, 10 watts per kg. He has hit this cobbled part and he's just said, see you later. I saw a few steamrollers getting dropped. They are nowhere near. They're not getting a big enough advantage on this cobbled section. Tabalong is going full in for the FAL points. It's still a wee way to go, though. You kind of almost think that when you get to that crested bit at the top through the sort of archway that you're done. But no, you've got to take a few right-hand corners, and that pack is coming very fast. ZWC are here to party. Look how close they are coming behind with those blue Tron bikes. But I think Tabalong is going to take this out. Wow. Great job coming through to the arch now. Huge gap behind. We'll see who's going to take it out. Oh, this is a big battle with Endo, Bleakley from NZ Bro, Mon Rich, then our mate Richard Law in there as well. So that was phenomenal from the men, coming in from those 2nd to 10th place. It'll be interesting to see what the points do. We'll have a look at that, but we'll head over to see the women who are already going up the climb as well.
The men are going to have to watch out for that counter attack because a lot of effort went into that. Corinne, once again, sitting right up there. She's doing well. I always say it, near the front, not on the front if you don't have to be, because that is a really good way to be where all the action is, but conserve a little bit of energy where possible. Corinne's clearly got pretty good climbing legs. Today we've spoken already about her mountain bike background. She's on the attack again here. Her teammates just sitting back and letting the wheel go. Geez, this is a good move. And look at the differential in power. This gap's going to start opening up quickly unless somebody jumps across.
Yeah, I've got to say, though, I am not loving the dropping of the steamroller on this part of the course. Reason being is you have a steamroller, which is going to be so crucial on the Temple climb, which is in about 4 kilometers from here. And you need that steamroller. Don't drop it here if you're already in the front bunch. So yeah, I just don't think you need to be doing that. If you're absolutely dying off the back and you think you're not going to make it back to the pack, yes, drop it. But yeah, I don't know. You need to be saving it for that dirt climb. But look at this Caramello's crew. Tracy coming up right behind her. Van Rossum from the wheelies. And then Caramello's. A couple of TBR smile on. But they are nailing it. Got to say, this C category women's race always makes me feel hungry. So I actually bought Tim Tams to eat for the broadcast tonight.
Impressive. Well, I mean, I feel it would be like a little bit bad taste to be eating caramellos while we're commentating on them. But they're doing a very good job tonight. You're right. I also don't know, how necessary it is for them to necessarily drop the pace and wait for the others. But the fact that they can do that and the other riders are having to are jumping around, like almost missing that move happening, they need to get their eyes and ears open a little bit more, because they're kind of just handing it to the Caramellos to lead and do however they see fit in this. Now, Corinne's not trying to stay away, but she's getting all of those points, and that in itself will give her a big advantage toward the back end. Gee, I'm surprised to see this many together, Anna. I thought that there would be a really significant move in between those climbs.
I know there was a question coming through. Did the men regroup? Yes, they did actually. So that's a good indication that the pace really, really just came off. We'll get those updated results through from that segment and see how things are sitting as they're about to take, I believe here, their right-hander. I'm not going to, there will be absolutely no bike swaps. I can tell you that right now. There have been a few questions. No way are people bike swapping in this event. In the A category men, we've already got an attack off the run. Talbot, again. This is really, really good work from Talbot on this green Tron from Alien Inc. going off, attacking at 7 watts a kg.
And they're on this gravel section, which, we know I like. We'll have to get your opinion on that, Anna, because I'm a fan of it, but I'm interested to hear what you think. I do think that when a gap goes over the gravel, you do have to be a little bit more conscious of what 3 or 4 seconds might mean. It is a little bit harder to just jump across or accelerate across like you can on the tarmac. So that does really need to be considered, I think, in terms of timing of an attack. Talbot has done a good job, both with the power up, with the timing of his attack. Yeah.
That's lucky.
That's like great use. This is exactly what you were just talking about, that this is the time to save it and use it. If we look at the segment points so far, Brad Pitt from Aero, I wonder if he's got Angelina just, fanning him while he rides. That's a bad and an old joke all there in one, Anna. But there you go. And he's done a fantastic job getting those fastest through segment points. So we've barely seen him on the front. So pretty ripping job for them to do that. But it just kind of shows where they're at strategically. Aero are always on the mark.
Yeah, we've got... Yeah, we're just looking at Aero, though. They are doing pretty well with FAL and FTS, sitting there at 44 points. But that's kind of it. After that, you've got Tabalong there, you've got Law from Alien Inc., you've got Endo from ZWC, then Bleakley from NZ Brook. A few NZ Bros there and a few ZWC. So Aero, they're going to have to get some more people up into this top group of points, unless they're really just focusing on the finish line. Look at this, 16 seconds back to Bleakley and Tanaka. I mean, this is a huge push to the top. I'd be surprised if he doesn't get fastest time segment as well.
I'm really impressed by this ride. I definitely, in the earlier weeks, I haven't seen Talbot race enough that I knew him comprehensively and even necessarily gave him the credit for this. So apologies, Talbot, but you are absolutely rocking it. He's only a level 33 Zwifter, and when I say only, often when they're not a level 40 or 50 Zwifter, you assume that they're still really developing. But he's shown some both really good racecraft. That may be a result of the directing that they're receiving and the support around that. But it also may mean that physically, what we see on Zwift, we look at his capabilities and he looks like a sprinter. He just looks like a really good, not pure sprinter, but a very powerful rider that you would back, on one of those earlier courses from this season. It is very possible, given his development through this and through the Zwift world, that perhaps he is still finding the opportunity to show us what he can do from a power profile perspective. And this is a pretty interesting ride from him. I also think that the other riders can check in on Zwift Power to kind of do a little bit of homework on their competitors. But, often it doesn't even necessarily show the full deck. So you can almost get sidetracked by putting people in containers based on powers that you can see. But
there's actually an interesting website, called Zwift Race Predictor, I think it is. I got introduced to it, where you can go into the Zwift Race Predictor. It has all the events coming up and it predicts who's going to win based on who's entered. And I think you're just right there, Katie. Sometimes I look and go, oh, I'm not even in the top 3, but it's based off the best numbers you can do. And sometimes the best numbers you can do fresh just isn't really what's going to happen in a race. So, and also just having the confidence. Like we look here at Tabalong, who's going hell for leather with that steamroller, chasing down Talbot ahead. It's gone down to 15 seconds. It was up to 22. He's broken away from the group. I mean, this could be just going purely on confidence, and it could look from the numbers like he wouldn't have a shot to kind of do well in a climb. But it really just comes down to how you're feeling on the day, how your legs are, and obviously really good. Talbot here still 12 seconds ahead of Tabalong. And we've got 8 seconds back to Naka from ZWC, Bleakley, Harris as well. And unfortunately, quite a few of the NZ Bro riders have really dropped off the pace. You can see Story, Danny's back there, kind of 20 seconds off. However, I do think a lot of this will come together on the downhill that they've got coming up. We'll show Talbot there. He's gone through that KOM 4:52. That is flying.
That's a very spicy ride from Tabalong as well to jump across late. Talbot, he's got about 10 kilometres to hold on to this. It isn't a huge break to Tabalong. It's 17 seconds, but 25 seconds back to Tanaka. That's not insignificant, Anna, especially if over the top, they do need to back off a bit to regroup in order to put together a good chase effort. Yes, there is a bit of a descent for about 3.5 or 4 kilometres, but after that, it is reasonably flat. So I'm very interested in how quickly this may or may not come back together.
Yeah, let's have a look at you're going to be calling out Rider of the Day soon, because we've got in the women's race Corinne crushing it on the climb. She has just pulled away. She's got 18 seconds on the next rider, that Hen Semenko from TBV. But yeah, it's TBW, sorry. Man, is there anything that Corinne can't do?
This is super impressive from her. She's obviously had a fair bit of confidence coming into this, and she's each time tempered that effort, put it out, opened up the gap. She's just done it again, and when she attacks, what I like is she gets out of her seat and she goes for it. It's not as though she, just tries to pedal away and sees how they might react. She really commits to the break, and I like that. I'm a bit of the mind that if you're going to use the energy to attack, you don't look back, you just go. And even if you commit for 30 seconds, 1 minute, whatever it is, after that, you see where everybody's at. But there's no point kind of getting out of your seat and looking over your shoulder at the same time.
Yeah, just reading a little bit more about her, and she said she's actually motivated because her kids watch her race, which is actually what the cool thing about Zwift is. The kids can just come down and sort of have a look at you going hard, and it does give a bit of motivation. I mean, my kids are more sort of, asking about why there's dogs running around and where are the dinosaurs. But yeah, you can actually get some good motivation as well. And she's got that. It's awesome. She said Zwift has actually brought back a bit of her love for cycling, and maybe she doesn't have those goals too much out of the window now, which were representing Aussie at some Masters Nationals. So from this kind of performance, Corinne, I would say absolutely you go get it.
I love that. My kids generally say, like, Mummy, your face looks red, or Mummy, you're very sweaty, or Mummy, why aren't you winning? But I can imagine that if I ever was in the position Corinne is right now, they'd be cheering, and it is good motivation for them, of course. She's gone over the top. She's got about 25. Oh, she's not quite over the top
not
yet,
quite
actually.
there. It's
Not
a
quite
hard
there.
one, yeah, because you see all these little temple arches, and sometimes you do think, oh, that's it, we're there. But oh man, that finish line when you're hurting takes a wee while to get here. I actually raced this course on the weekend as a bit of a recon. Yeah, this climb is pretty brutal, especially when it gets to this part. It's kicking up to that 6% gradient. It really is burning the legs, especially after that climb we just had. The Castle KOM wasn't that long ago. That was at 15K. That's only 7K before. So, yeah, these guys are hurting now, but, I mean, you wouldn't tell that with Corinne. She's got almost 30 seconds now on Kim KS from the Smile on Seas, who's the next best on the road.
So Smile on Sea and Hensa Semenko, she's again been getting better every week. She was really good in the team's time trial last week too. Kim Kern-Stokes, she is one from a lot of seasons that we know is a very solid bike rider. She's had a few ups and downs over the last couple of years with her racing, but it's great to see her back on board. So awesome. I may be getting this wrong, Anna, but I feel like Kim may have had a small human in the last little while. So I'll have to double check on that.
Yeah. That'd be really good to know.
But it's great. Yeah, you can compare notes.
Yeah.
Zwift racing postpartum. I'm sure there's a support group for you, Anna. If not, set one up. They do actually have, of course, Kristen Armstrong doing it, and Danny King doing a lot of the Zwift pre and post pregnancy kind of workouts and stuff. So it is a great environment to get women back on the bike. As long as these two can just find some rhythm together, then they will be able to chase earnestly over the top. But what I am noticing is the caramellos are just sprinkled through every single group. So if they're not motivated to ride, it will be a more difficult challenge to come back together.
Just want to note Nikki in here. So I'll see if this is in here from the caramellos. She has 5 children. So, wow.
You say that like with your eyes wide open, like,
oh,
whoa.
like, wow. I mean, full credit to her. She's 54 years old. I mean, to be still on a bike, pushing hard and racing at 54 with 5 kids, like, what's your secret? She needs to tell me because, whoo-wee. Yeah, like, I'm finding, 3 under 5. It's a big ask to be able to get on the bike. And, yeah, pretty phenomenal here from, her name's Nikki. And she's emigrated from England to Australia, and she'd actually ride her bike all day if she could, but she is an oncology nurse, I think, now working as a community development officer. So, wow, what the quite a pedigree.
It is quite the pedigree. I agree. I'd ride my bike all day if I could as well. Especially we've had a beautiful summer here to ride. Now let's just take a look at the time gaps here, because there's nearly 30 seconds between Corinne and Hensa Semenko. There's now been a bit of time open up between Hensa Semenko and Kim in KKS. So that means that it's going to be very hard to coordinate a good chase when they are split up like that. And look at how solid Corinne is looking. She has got some pace on. Her heart rate is up there, so she's absolutely in the zone. She's got nothing to lose here. She has dominated this race from the get-go. Based on what she's done so far, Anna, you have to give her the belief that she can pull this off. This gap is not coming down quickly. I don't think it'll come down at all because there's no significant chase group.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is just seeing if the points have updated. Looking like they might have. So I'll pull them in because wow, this is so C Dolan is Corinne, who we're watching on screen, and it looks like she has really nailed this racing. She's got a lot of those fastest time segments. We've got Van Rossum right behind her, but 60 points so far for first cross line of fastest time segment against the next best, which was 48. So wow, hats off to Corinne. She is doing it. And just wondering though, I mean, she's got 30 seconds. She kept this Watson power up. She could take this all the way to the line. We will go to the men's race because it has been a little bit of a split and what's been happening there. And we'll see if we've got some updates on their points as well so we can pull up. I mean, this race is 33k long. They don't have too long to go. It's going to be an interesting finish line. A little bit different, I think, to some of the earlier recons. So I wonder if they're knowing that. I just saw that popping up on the socials today, that it's a little bit earlier than people might have thought from their original recons.
Well, interestingly, John Story's back. Anna, he got dropped earlier on, but he's managed to make his way back. From what we've seen from him so far, we very much know that he's a little bit less dynamic than some of the seasoned cyclists, but what he lacks in that, he makes up for in his ability to just keep dieseling and producing that consistent power. He would be very dangerous if in a breakaway for anybody trying to chase that back. He'd probably be an excellent breakaway companion, not dangerous for anybody trying to ride in a break with him. But it's good for Bleakley to have Story back in there as well, because it gives them a few options toward the back. And they've actually got a third rider in the front there as well, and Danny's. Danny's?
Yeah,
Danny's?
I think it's a new one. I haven't seen.
Camille Danny's is I'm looking at, and I'm not sure I've seen him either. The Frenchman riding in that squad. He's got some great numbers, and he actually looks pretty comfortable. His heart rate and his average powers have been pretty comfy through this race. So he could be. Do you reckon that some of the teams have maybe brought on some new riders now that it's turned away from the flats and more toward the hills?
Yeah, look at
Change
this
their
though.
combos up.
Talbot, what is going on here? Talbot is 45 seconds ahead of this group of riders. That is crazy. A few people just calling out his watts there. I'm sure it's getting some checks and balances going on. But yeah, 46 seconds on this chase group is a crazy effort from Talbot. We saw him take it apart on the hill. We're actually seeing a really similar thing happening on both the men's and the women's. So on the men's, we had Talbot go very quick up that climb and is just extending the gap. On the women's, I've got my eye on Corinne there, who is also extending her gap over the group behind. I mean, this is an indication you don't want to let anybody get ahead on that climb because, wow, I can't see him not taking it to the line.
Yeah, it's a good ride from him, and you're right that climb seems to be the catalyst. We actually thought, watching it beforehand, looking at the course, that there was more than enough time to chase back if they had a good chase pack. But Talbot, last time we saw him, he had about 15 or 20 seconds over Tabalong. It looks like Tabalong has dropped well and truly back into that group, and when they've caught him, perhaps they haven't really continued with that chase at all. So that's interesting. I'm going to be very interested to see those average watts at the end of the day and see how it looks for that chase group, whether it does kind of indicate that they have backed that off a little bit. But Talbot's certainly holding some very significant watts out the front here. And the gap is not opening up anymore, but it's certainly not coming back too much, just a couple of seconds.
We got people commenting here that it's, World Tour numbers. I mean, maybe this guy will go join some World Tour team, go race for the Tour de France. I don't know much about Talbot, but he is showing some very, very good numbers here. He is coming through to the finish pretty quickly. Like I said, it's a little bit different to what people would have reconned. It comes up very fast after this big roundabout with this sort of magical tree in the middle. Originally, it was kind of around in the city blocks, a very windy sprint. This one will be fairly straightforward for Talbot here. He's just going to absolutely run away with this, both with the points during the race and also this finish line. So dominant performance here from Talbot, but I will be very interested to follow the chase pack behind where there will be a sprint for the line. We'll see the banner coming up pretty soon. I think he'll take this right-hander and the banner will just be at the end of that street. We'll see if it's the same as what we saw in Premier League earlier today.
Well, the chase group, again, it's not coming back too much. They've got a good combo of riders in there, though, so I'd think that they'd be working fairly well together. Some of the comments coming up, this is the problem when emojis don't show up on screen because they just look like blank text messages. But I'm now really curious what those emojis are. What do you reckon he's trying
it's the
to put out there?
ZWC team. They, I think he may have just crossed the finish line, which there was no indication there that was crossed. So that was a little bit of a magical finish line there. We'll see if we can, this is what we thought it was coming up right here, but it looks as though he may have crossed because he looks like he's definitely chilling out now. We might head over to the women's way, see if we can get that chase pack up on the screen. We do have Corinne absolutely bossing it off the front.
Oh, what a ride from Corinne. Really consistent numbers from her. So no outrageous powers. It's not that she's been spiking up and down and struggling. She's just been really consistent with her ride. And I'm very impressed at how she's developed because we have been mentioning her name for a couple of weeks now, but not necessarily expecting her to be able to pull out such a performance like this. And it is a combination, of course, Anna, of Corinne kind of breaking the spirits, I would say, of the other riders, because when you attack and get away on 3 climbs in a row and then you keep pushing over the top, there wouldn't be a lot of faith or belief from some of the chasing riders that they can even chase. And so they, to a degree, I think it would be fair to say, they decide to then race for second and conserve some energy to make sure they can outsprint anybody if it does come back, a couple of them together. But they do still have Solo chases behind. There isn't really a bunch to speak of in that top 5 at least. So a bit of a different scenario playing out in the women than the men, but we have certainly seen from how difficult this course is that there aren't the big bunches that we've come to love over the last couple of weeks of this season. The first 4 weeks before that team's time trial, it was very hard to call the finish. We didn't really get to look at any riders in particular too much because of the spread. But this is like a warm-up for the rest of the season, Anna. I reckon this is a really good start to the climby, punchy courses.
Yeah, this is it is going to be a bit of a tricky one. We're seeing I just had the men's picture up there. Sorry, the finish line was a little bit invisible to us, but it looked like there was a great sprint there. We'll have the results coming up at the end that we can show who took that out. But yeah, that was a definite dominating performance in the men's race, and it looks like it might be that way in the women's race too, just with the way that Corinne is going. She's really going to take that out. But look at this. She gained 42 seconds. This is almost exactly what did happen in the men's race as well.
It is the kind of course I think that breaks your spirit as much as your physicality, because when those attacks, you have to make a decision how deep you want to go over the climbs. Like you made the comment in that first climb that you have to just hang on, because if you can just get to the top with them, you know that the recovery is coming.
Yeah.
But the climbs toward the back end, you aren't able to do that. If you put absolutely everything into just hanging on over the top, it'll be very easy to then actually get dropped going down the other side. It's like that elastic band that just finally snaps.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a course, I would say, that sort of, it's a really tricky one, I've got to say, because you've, like I said earlier, you've got to go for those parts that are really important, like the climbs, right? That last climb, what we've seen in both cases is someone really going for it on that climb and managing to stay away. You know, you look at Hen Semenko here, 41 seconds back, riding alone with Kim KS, 14 seconds back, then a few at 28 seconds. But it's kind of a race where you can get away because the pack is finding it very, very hard to come together again. We've kind of got ones and twos. You can just see here there's 2 that have been dropped, kind of trying to come back up. It is the sort of one where you may as well lay it all out there on those kind of climbs and just keep up fairly okay watts as long as you're ahead of the people behind you. And then you'll be able to stay away. I mean, not many courses are like this. You're not really going to see that on many others because the big downhill usually enables a group to come together, but that dirt really mixes it up. I know we were saying earlier there's a bit of friction in the cycling community about gravel and tour races, but in Zwift races, I'm loving it. It kind of does allow this sort of situation to happen.
All right, we've got to talk about this. There was just a few comments happening there between Foot from Raven Mad and Van Rossum from the Woylies. They are riding together, but it seems like Van Rossum isn't able to pull turns.
Oh, looks like we've just lost Kate, but yeah, what she was saying was right. We just they aren't able to sort of pull turns, and this is where it's really hard because you need to work with someone. And if someone's saying that, are they trying to sort of psych you out, or is it legit that they actually can't pull turns? So, yeah, it's an interesting one there, what they're going to do. I mean, we've got eyes on Corinne here, but we'll probably have a look at what happens with these other racers who are just sort of sitting behind. I think Semenko here will manage to carry it out over Kim KS. But looking at a little group here, this is where you've got the 2 from the Caramellos, followed by the 2 from the Big Ring, and also Raven Mad with a great new kit. And then there's another rider just a little behind them, Tracy's from Caramellos too. So this is a good little battle for this, was it 4th, 5th, 6th kind of position. Still not hearing Kate coming in. So just have a look at what's happening with these guys finishing off. Looks like Ian, who we were talking about before, so he was an oncology nurse, coming over from Great Britain, has found her love of cycling, now racing with this great team from AHDR. We've got Corinne. She'll be almost finishing now. She's coming past that big tree in the roundabout. Sounds like we got Kate back. I can just hear her coming through. Corinne,
Yes, I'm back.
Chapeau,
Apology.
great race. Semenko, she'll be coming in second place, but I am interested more in this little battle with these riders behind. Looks like Kim has broken away from Tanya, and Tanya is just entering the tunnel now alongside her mate, N Dot, and then we've got another N Dot land from Raven Mad. So see if these guys come together, but looks like Corinne first and hence Semenko in second.
Oh, brilliant ride from Corinne, like just massive ride for her. Hence Semenko getting better every week. I think somebody to definitely highlight for the weeks coming up. Kim, big kudos to you. Great to have you back at the front of the bunch because that is just wonderful. We've seen her for a number of seasons now. And for Smile on Sea, they're doing a really good job as well, putting really solid teams in. I'm just super impressed by the Caramellos this week. They've just rode perfectly in executing the plan, so they can pat themselves on the back. But, you know, I almost feel like it didn't matter the plan. Corinne was so strong today, Anna. She was always going to pull that off. And I think the fact that we're watching Kim Kearns-Stokes come in on her own here, but still pushing all the way to the line because there is a group of two only
Right
5
there.
seconds back. You can see them. If she backs off at all, they will sweep her up. She's done an amazing job at pushing so far, but these are AHDRL ladies. They are on different teams, ostensibly anyway, the Caramellos and the Chupa Chups. But they are starting to gain a few seconds here, so this will go right down to the line.
Yeah, this is looks like they might have crossed that line there. It's kind of just, you can see them sprinting now. So that looks like it was a great job there from the Caramellos, kind of leading each other. I think they just had generally a good day out in the office. You had Corinne taking it out. Then you had these guys just coming through with their Caramello teammates. They obviously are a great team who love working together. And I mean, we got a huge, I felt like we covered two of the races from that team. I got a huge Facebook message, so I have to cover them more in upcoming races. But yeah, what did you think about that, Katie? I got to say, it's almost one of my favorite courses.
Yeah, that was a really dynamic course. And I don't mind it when, in my mind, it's going to play out one way and then we see it completely different because it just shows the versatility, not only of the courses, but also kind of the evolving strategies of the team and what they're thinking about. And look, I really think you need to kind of copyright trademark this whiteboard of yours because I'm thinking that a lot of the teams, they're starting to propagate around the world these wonderful whiteboards with some strategies on them. We will get results when we can, Anna.
We
but
do have them, yes.
Oh, fantastic. Let's take a look because we did see that even with Ben Pitt getting a lot of those fastest through segments, but we didn't see much of him. So it'll be interesting to see where he was toward the end. So here is the A men that we followed. A big win from John Talbot, massive win from John Talbot. Slightly unexpected for someone I would have called a sprinter, I might say. But it was a little bit tighter for the rest of the bunch coming in there. Agino was the best in the sprint for the Allies. NZ Bro, Frodo, here they are, Anna. They came through in third and fourth. Have we got them there? In third and fourth with Story and Tabalong. Danny's Camille for Gandalf came in fifth. Brenton Ryan, Aero Next Gen. Josh Harris in seventh for the Aero Masters. Tanaka and Nakagawa for Team ZWC Allies in eighth and ninth. And rounding out that top 10 is your whiteboard buddy, Aaron Bleakley.
Oh, Aaron, my PC buddy. He's great.
Yeah. Oh, PC, not whiteboard.
I know. I just want to shout out, I am a fan of John's story, but that is a great job getting on the podium there for someone who was dropped off the pace on that climb, made it back on, and ended up in third place. So good job. Never give up, team. Never give up. Coming into the B category. So this was, I did see some chat coming through about Annie Simmons, a rider from WMZBs. A veteran rider taking out this mixed category, showing it to the men, how to win this kind of a course. So great job, Annie Simmons. That is awesome job. Martin Tenham is AHDR Ballers in second. Chris Benham from the Innsbruck Ringers in third. Dan Cox in fourth from the Innsbruck Ringers as well. David Daly from Aeropress. Ian Moynick, sixth place from WMZBs. Zeb Dunn from Aerodynamics, Joshua Smith from Velo Club. Oh, this one's always tricky. Velo Club, Melo Sabel, presented by Cycling Tips. Matthew Glass in ninth, and Ian Haig in 10th. We'll see if we've got any of the C riders who have come in yet. Looks like they may not have finished. It is quite a long course with all those climbs. So we'll head over and have a look at our women's results now.
And you can head to WTRL.racing to check out the full results a little bit later. Georgia Miller taking the win in the women's there. A great ride from her. Gee, she did well to outshine that TBR Smile On team, who were in second, third, and fourth. So this is the B women. Emily Gartland in second, Natasha Williams in third. That was a nice little sprint of the three there. Ivana Ciccelli in fourth, and she came in with Michelle Bond and Iona Arzanova for the Bullets and the Raven Bees. There was another little bunch there as well, Melissa Fung. Now, we know she's a really great sprinter, so it's actually great to see her riding so well and in that top 10 on a more climb day, turning out to be quite versatile. Alison Augustin came in eighth for the Raven Bees, Kylie Adair in ninth for the Bullets, and Natalia Rojas Jordan is coming in 10th for the AHDRL Bullets.
Then looking at the C category, which is what we covered, Corinne Dolan, the champion, HDR Caramellos, extremely good there. Looks like it's not populating with the other riders as yet, but looks like Hen Semenko came in second. See if I can just get a refresh on that. We'll see if any of the D-Cats have come in. Looks like they haven't. So it is a little bit of a tricky course. We'll see if I can just update that page, see if we can get some more of the results. Otherwise, head over to Zwift Power to see all the full results coming through. But let's have a look if we can see. There we go. Kimberly Kern-Stokes from TBR Smile On. She was in third place. Tanya Cayley from the Chubba Chubs. She was in fourth. Nikki Causwell from the Caramellos. So there are actually two different AHTRL riders there. So one from the Chubba Chubs, one from the Caramellos, taking out fourth and fifth. Anna Chico Gnini from Tune Bikeworks, Chicks and Nicks. Naomi Land from Raven Mad, Tracy Muller from AHDR Caramellos, Joanne Foote from Raven Mad, and then Gina Van Rossum from the Herd of Woylies. See if any of the Ds have come in, and it doesn't look like it has yet. It is a long day out there. So head over to WTRL.racing for those results.
Anna, unreal. Thank you very much for this week. Now, you are racing tomorrow, so good luck for that.
Thank you.
And I hope that goes very well for you.
This is my massive piece of paper.
Oh,
yeah, there we go.
I like that.
It's,
do you put that up when you're racing as like a little?
I do. I actually tape it underneath the screen, and I've bought myself a little table, one of those little Wahoo tables, and got a little mini keyboard. So I feel like I'm slowly pimping out the sort of riding setup.
Yeah, I think I need to see your socials for pictures of that. Next week we have Climbers Gambit, so that's about 28 kilometres, but about 680 metres of climbing, so that is going to be a big one with some KOMs. Perhaps this week was a bit of a warm-up. Will the likes of John Talbot be able to get over those bigger climbs next week? We will have to wait and see. Now, the APAC, of course, bookends is the first bookend of the community leagues, so we go all the way through for the next 24 hours to America West. So there's a lot of racing on. So if you are keen to tune in and see the different ways the riders challenge this course, by all means catch up either live or on the YouTube Community Live, Community Zwift Live, Zwift Community Live. It's late at night here in Australia. So on that note, well done to everybody who raced today, and we look forward to seeing what you can do next week. And I'll be Googling your result tomorrow, Anna, so go get them.
Thank you.